1, 2, 3, 4. Chop, chop, chop.
It's cure of the what now?
Gather the ingredients.
Cure of the what now?
Not much time to prep before it's time to start the show.
Oh!
Guests are arriving.
Cure of the what now?
Everybody's smiling.
Cure of the what now?
A tasty party starting. Now it's time to go. Woo!
Ooh, served hot and fresh.
Itadakimasu. So hello, fellow princesses trapped in ice of possibly their own design, possibly someone else's, and welcome to episode 30 of
Cure of the what now? Season 2. Yum!
the one show where we know if you're gonna be trapped in ice, you probably want to put on a jacket. Like, I imagine it's cold in there.
Probably. Maybe she can't feel it. Maybe she's in such a deep sleep that, the ice doesn't get to her. Although I will say Joe carried it with his bare hands, so I can't imagine it's that cold.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Anyway, I am the light that shines from the depths of your heart, Cure Glimmer!
Very nice. And what's your civilian name for the purposes of this podcast?
Well, it's Kat, but I was kind of hoping you'd do yours. We were doing a bit. I thought maybe you'd just improv, you'd throw in there, you'd yes and.
Oh, fiery watermelons and watery coconuts. Cure Island.
You have an OC, Cure Flair. I assume she has an intro line.
Haven't figured it out yet.
Oh, well, I came up with one for you.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Heart's Fiery Passion, Cure Flair.
Oh my gosh. The flames of victory ready to fight. Cure Flair.
There you go.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm Kat. And you're Joel.
And I am the co-host Joel.
We are married, the two of us. We do this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's because we're married that we do this podcast. If we weren't married, there would be no podcast. And if there wasn't a podcast, we might not be married.
Does that mean you and Curtis were married, but now you're not married because he's not on the podcast anymore?
No, it's because we were both cis straight men. And so, there's a bromance there.
That's like a thing that guys do.
Yeah, it's just guys hanging out.
That's like the cis straight man version of getting married, but there's no legal ceremony to accompany it.
Yeah, there was. You don't remember the launch party? We all wore suits and we all talked about our favorite thing that we were anticipating doing in the One Piece podcast we were going to launch.
Okay, you and Curtis exchanged your podcast vows.
Absolutely.
This intro has gotten out of hand. I can tell by your face.
I don't have a face as far as any of our listeners know.
One announcement that I have, as of yesterday, the Delicious Party movie is in theaters.
Yeah, over in Japan, of course.
Yes, Magical Girl AU on their podcast, Sparkleside Chats with Magical Girl AU, will be covering the movie. So if anybody has any movie-related questions they want to ask her, there is a thread on their Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely. And as always, I will link, well, not as always, but I will link their Twitter bio below.
Perfect.
In the YouTube description.
Any other news or announcements?
Not that I can think of.
Okay.
All right, so we start these episodes with a discussion question. Now, I already asked about the fire and ice duo trope. And now my question to you is, are there any other duos? Like, if we wanted to start our own Magical Girl series that was, inspired by PreCure, but it had this, duality kind of theme throughout all the different seasons, what would we do for season 2?
Body and spirit?
Okay, so one of them would be really strong and just always doing push-ups and stuff, and then the other one would be a priest?
She'd have a magic wand and she'd do magic shit.
Oh, okay, so she'd believe.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just kind of throwing out duos. Another one is black and white. We can't steal that from PreCure.
We could do shadow and light.
There you go.
Yeah, and then they have a twilight fusion attack or something like that.
That's the best thing you've ever said to me on this podcast.
Absolutely. No, I guess that's kind of a boring question, because we usually try to pick a theme and really dig deep into it.
Yes, and last week our question was weddings. So this week we have to do something else, even though all that talk about exchanging vows got me really excited about weddings again. I just finished the newest book in the Locked Tomb trilogy, and those books are all about the relationships between people, so I'm feeling very emotional about relationships and bonds and things.
I will say, we used to do this on King of the What Now. We would talk about what we've been reading and what we would recommend, and I will say, so there's 3 books currently, starts with Gideon the Ninth, then Harrow the Ninth, and then Nona the Ninth. You cannot just read Nona the Ninth because you will have absolutely no idea what's going on, but Nona as a third-person limited point of view character has my favorite internal voice of the three. If I had to rank them, I would say Nona, then Gideon, and then Harrow Hark. Harrow.
Fascinating. I would probably do Harrow, Gideon, Nona.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, I think that Tamsyn Muir has a talent for writing different characters of different personalities that really, clash and interact.
Absolutely. I know a lot of PreCure fans, particularly PreCure fans on Twitter, only consume media that is about girls, and I would say probably 90% of the important characters are female in these books, so if that's the kind of media you like, maybe check them out. There's a lot of representation as far as like gender and sexuality and ethnicity goes. Less so religion, because that's not really a thing in the future, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's about necromancers in space, basically. Like, there's a big plot going on, but you don't find out about it until, like, the end of book 2, and even now, I don't think... I mean, there's probably some theorists out there, but, like, the common reader does not know what's going to happen in the 4th book.
Joel, can I share a slightly off-topic story since we're already talking about this?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I recommended these books to my dad because they are extremely Catholic. And my dad was born and raised Catholic, and so I was like, you might appreciate some of the highbrow literary references here. And so I'm talking to my dad about like, oh, have you started Gideon yet? What do you think? Et cetera, et cetera. And my mom goes, what are you guys talking about? And dad goes, a book. And my mom goes, what book? And I say, it's about space necromancers, because I know mom will be weird if I'm like, it's about lesbian necromancers in space, which is what it actually says on the book cover. And my dad goes very triumphantly, lesbian necromancers in space. And I'm like, yeah, it's very Catholic. That's why I recommended it to dad. And dad goes, lesbian Catholics. So he was just very pleased with himself.
Interesting. Okay. So was he actually reading it, or did he just glean that from you?
No, he's reading it. He downloaded it on his Kindle. He's finishing Dune, and then he's starting Gideon.
Wow, really? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, so this week we watched Delicious Party 28, Doki Doki 21 and 22, as well as Glitter Force Doki Doki episodes 15 and 16. Succinct summary. In Delicious Party, the new Ubazao has shown up. It is too powerful, but Narcistoru likes playing with his foes, so he lets the recipe go, the Ubazao fades, and he goes like, basically cry yourself into a corner, come back, face me later. What?
Something about the way you said, lets the recipe go, just made me think of, let my pee-pee go.
Okay.
Let my people go.
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie. So I think you're Prince of Egypt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. So, I got that you were making a reference. My point is, he basically says, wallow in despair, you pitiful fools, you can't stop me. And then the energy fairies point out to Kome Kome that maybe she has the power to make other people stronger because the first Kome Kome was special, and she tries to power up Yui, and it doesn't work, and she's really sad, but then the energy fairies share the we're all in this together, we want our people to succeed kind of strategy. They go and they fight the new Ubazao again. They are losing. And then Kome Kome is like, oh, I'm useless. And he was like, how dare you? And then by Kome Kome realizing how much everyone loves her, she awakens the power of togetherness, and they unlock a new attack. And it purifies the Ubazao. And that's the end of the episode. Narcistoru is apprehended by Mary. So we're getting some plot developments here. In Doki Doki 21, the characters want to save the princess who's been captured by the mercenaries, and probably also Regina, although they're really focused on the princess right now. It turns out that I can just open interdimensional portals, so they go to Splendorius / the Trump Kingdom. I don't know why I keep blanking on what it's called in the Japanese dub.
It's because you altered your brain so that you couldn't hear the word Trump?
Yeah, absolutely. So this entire time I've been hearing about the Glump Kingdom, but what it ruins for me is that when someone says that they have their Trump card, I actually overwrote that specific instance of the word as well. Or I didn't overwrite the specific instance, I overwrote all instances of the word in my brain. They go, they're fighting their way through all of the disdains. Regina has been struck by lightning because Belle goaded her into basically being like, please don't take over the earth, Daddy. And the dad's like, how dare you? And strikes her with lightning. She's unconscious. Mana shows up. I guess Cure Heart shows up to save Regina, but that's actually part of Belle's trap. They fall into a pit and they might fall into lava, but they catch a rope, but the rope can't hold both of them. So Belle's like, what are you gonna do? Regina tries to swan dive into the lava, and then Mana catches her and she's like, I'm student president. That title carries power. And Belle's like, what are you talking about? And then Regina reawakens her powers, which had been sealed by the lightning strike, through learning about selflessness and love and all this stuff.
Empathy?
Yeah, empathy. Other people have feelings other than Regina, she discovers. And they make their escape, basically. The Greed King, or whatever his name is, Selfish King, tries to strike Regina with lightning again, because how dare you stand up against me? And it's Makoto who saves her. They escape, and the king's like, grr, I'm really upset. In the next episode, it's mostly a beach episode. There's a little bit of, where's Regina going to stay now that they're back in the human world? Joe agrees to hide the princess, but he's not going to tell any of the girls where it is, so then that way they can't be, tortured for information. He doesn't say tortured, but basically it's safer that way. Which actually makes me think that Joe's now the weak link, if the bad guys somehow find out that Joe knows where the princess is being held. But that's future speculation. Mana asks Regina to stay with her, or offers for Regina to stay at her house, and the parents are all like, yeah, cool, you can stay here. They have a sleepover, it's super cute, and for the first time in my PreCure watching history, I saw two girls holding hands, sharing a bed together, and my thought wasn't, these bitches gay. My thought was, oh, they're sisters. They go to the beach, they have a lot of fun, something's troubling Regina, she doesn't seem to understand what these heart palpitations are, the Doki Doki is too powerful for her, and then the mercenaries show up and they go, hey, have you tried being evil? And Regina goes, no, I haven't. And then the Selfish King is like, you should try being evil. And she goes, okay. And she gets transformed and she becomes what I'm going to refer to as Super Regina from the Dragon Ball Z naming conventions.
And I will refer to her as Porple Regina, or Porp Gina for short.
No, it doesn't work.
Porpina.
That means tip in Spanish. To give a tip to the waitress.
Oh, okay. I thought, just the tip.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that they use it to mean that. That's where the episode ends, right before it looks like the girls are about to be defeated by Super Regina, but then her attack is stopped by a mysterious woman who shows up, who is Love's trump card, Cure Ace.
Woo!
And that's where the episode ends. We don't get any kind of, why she showed up. I mean, the answer to why she showed up is because I went to go find her. But we don't really, know how she got here. We don't know who she is under the mask, metaphorically speaking. But that's it. Episode ends.
Yeah.
Those have been your Succinct Summaries.
Excellent job. Let's start with Delicious Party. Did you like this episode?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's kind of a basic plot we've seen before, and of course the answer is, use your feelings, because that's the answer to a lot of these episodes in PreCure, but I thought that Kome Kome's despair was relatable, and I think that the "we all love you" scene was quite good. I like the girls' new forms that they get, and I think it was okay. I don't think it was the greatest episode, but I think it was very good.
Absolutely. Really quick, I want to touch on the "we've seen it before" note. So we've said that about other things on this podcast, and Ayu pointed out that a lot of the kids who are watching PreCure right now have never seen it before. This is all new and exciting to them. And I will say, there's always that element when you're an adult reviewing a show meant for young children of I know this isn't for me.
Sure,
but
yeah.
When we're talking about whether or not you and I liked something, you and I have seen it before.
Yeah, I'm not saying that this is unoriginal. I'm just saying there's certain beats that these seasons kind of share, and because, kids grow out of it, and then the new audience is the younger kids that have emerged in the meantime.
That hatched.
But, older people can see them and recognize the motifs and stuff. Younger kids are going to be surprised by it quite a bit. Magical Girl AU gave us a note about that in one of the other episodes that she was listening to. But I still think that you can compare and contrast them as an older audience member, and there are some episodes of some of the seasons, and I'm completely blanking on which ones, where I get what they're going for, but I don't empathize with the characters, whereas in this one I did feel a bit bad for Kome Kome. I felt it was really cute when Mem was trying to cheer up Pam Pam and Kome Kome. I liked that when Kome Kome did her failed power up, her tail got really big and bushy and was shivering with power, and then she deflates like a balloon and she falls over and they're like, oh, poor Kome Kome.
Yeah, there were a lot of delightful, really cute moments in this episode. I particularly want to shout out Yui's "Nobody gets to call my beloved Kome Kome useless, not even you, Kome Kome."
Yes, absolutely 100%.
Who among us has not said something like that to a bestie, It's
true. I also really like that they tried to engage Narcistoru in a fist fight. Ran and Kakone engaged the Ubazao, while Yui and Amane challenged Narcistoru. And it turns out dude's got moves. I would have expected him to be a little bit more strategic, some kind of I keep my enemies at bay and they never get close enough to touch me kind of a thing, like a sniper kind of a archetype. But no, he laid the beat down. Also, he was told that this would be his last mission if he didn't succeed, that Secretario would let him go. And so he actually had a personal stake in this. So, yeah, we also got a bit of his backstory, that he never felt the connection with other people when they were eating delicious food, and the background looks like Ku Kingdom, which makes sense, because as I pointed out before, Narcistoru said that they needed a human when he brainwashed Gentle or whatever.
Yeah,
Gentle.
That's true. I'd forgotten about that. Plus, he's a vampire, so...
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe that's why he's never enjoyed food, because he should be drinking human blood. He'd be able to smile and engage. No, you know what this episode had that the kind showrunners at Toei specifically put in there for me?
What's that?
Mari pinning Narcistoru face down in the dirt.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed that, and that's all I'm going to say on this family-friendly podcast.
I will say, I think the idea of capturing him is really interesting. I can't, off the top of my head, think of another season where they've captured one of the generals, and we know that he's been fired essentially, so Secretario isn't going to go and retrieve him, but I'm wondering if he's going to try to break out. I also wonder if he'll slowly learn the power of friendship.
Right? I mean, he and Mari are going to be besties by the end of this season now. Mari's just going to be walking him around on a leash, this is my pet Narcistoru.
Some kinky fanfic could be written around that.
I wasn't trying to be weird, but
I'm just saying it could. I'm not saying it has to be.
I might be writing it. I just wasn't trying to write it here and now on this podcast.
The only thing that I wanted to discuss in specific that we haven't really covered is that the new Ubazao is called the Gosari Ubazao, and I'm probably not pronouncing that as I don't know much Japanese.
Is going to drag you in the Discord.
They will find me and they will destroy me. But I guess it literally means I'll steal everything. I can't remember if I covered that Ubazao means, I will steal. But I guess it was I'll steal, I will steal more, and then I'll steal everything, which to me sounds like a cap. I don't know how you say I'll steal extra everything,
I'll steal everything else?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But
no, I agree. That sounds like the ultimate Ubauzo. Do you have anything else you want to comment on for Delicious Party?
We get a more kimono-looking look for Yui, for Precious. I actually don't know if kimono is the right word for it, but she has long triangular sleeves, and it's a look that I've seen in anime, but I don't know specifically what the outfit is called. And Finale gets a veil over her head.
It's very wedding dressy.
Exactly. So, some people have been wondering if that's what the ending is alluding to. You and I have talked about it, and I think that they're really stepping up their game on that.
Really quick, did we talk last week about my theory that maybe Kome Kome 1 is Godats?
I think we might have. I can't remember.
I can't remember either, but I mean, the pointy ears, we thought it was a cat, but could easily be a fox, so that's one theory for who is Kome Kome 1. The other theory for who is Kome Kome Senior that I heard was, what if it's Yui's grandma?
Okay, maybe.
And I like that because at the very beginning of this podcast, I had a theory that Kome Kome was Yui's grandma, and I had what I felt was some pretty strong evidence for it. So if that turns out to be the case, I'm going to feel like I was basically right.
Okay, does that mean that Yui is a quarter energies fairy?
That would explain why food powers her up so much.
Absolutely. I will say, when they mentioned Kome Kome the first, we only saw them from behind, and they looked very much like Kome Kome, but like, why wouldn't you show the face? That seems kind of weird. So I think the pieces are starting to fall into place. Also consider, so I left this out of the succinct summary, but Mary is able to retrieve the special stone that Narcistoru used to power his new, it's called the trap box, instead of a bento box, but he got that stone, and then the very last scene is Secretoru being like, oh, he failed again, but that's okay, we already got what we needed, and she has a second delicious stone. And I've been thinking about this. How would she have a second delicious stone? Mary said the person who created the delicious stones is no longer around, and we also know that they hinted at that Kome Kome the second has the ability to spread power. So Kome Kome the first somehow became Godats, decided to like steal recipes. I have no idea why, but is also the one who can create the special stones and provided another one to Secretoru.
Yeah.
So if they take it, they could just create a third one. Like, who knows? Does it take 10 days to create it? Can they do it instantly? Does it take like a special recipe? I don't know. But theoretically, the bad guys could have a unlimited supply. As opposed to, I kind of thought there would be, we take the stone, they lose their powers, they cry for a bit.
Do you think she will bring Spiritoru back so she won't be lonely?
Yeah, I don't think
Or do you think she'll go fight?
Well, because it showed the new box being in Spiritoru's chest, so I got the impression that Spiritoru is coming back, and I also get the impression that Secretoru is either so powerful that the showrunners are finding excuses to not have her fight, or she's not a fighter at all. She might just be like a data analyst or something like that. But yeah, I think that we're going to see Spiritoru come back. I'm very curious to see if he will have his memories again, or if he'll be like a new Spiritoru, or what.
Yeah, it would be interesting if, like, he gets powered up with the Ubauzo.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, but who knows? We will see.
Did you like Doki Doki this week?
Yeah, I'm gonna say yes.
Was the pacing a little weird? Is that why you're kind of hesitant?
I didn't like the second episode as much, because essentially what happens is Regina, every time she feels happy, like every time Mana's like having a great time with her family, or every time she's being friends with the other girls, she like clutches her chest like she's in pain. She's like, what is this feeling? And then the Selfish King is like, that's love? So you need to stop loving Mana and the others? And then she goes, okay, I just don't want it to hurt, and then she gets turned into an evil. But like, yes, love can hurt if you love someone who makes a decision that you don't agree with or something, or if you love someone it's unrequited, but like, she should feel like she's being included, and somehow that's causing her pain? And like, I didn't quite get that. I didn't quite understand what was going on with that. But I still liked seeing Mana's family. I like seeing Mana and Regina having like a little like sleepover, and like Regina sees Mana's baby pictures and is like, oh, you were cute. Not as cute as me. And Mana goes, I guess you're right. But I think, I'm pretty cute. So
yes. No, their sister relationship is very cute, and I appreciate it a lot. I will say that I think Doki Doki has now given us one of the best depictions of an abusive parent in children's media that I've seen recently.
Yes, absolutely.
The Selfish King basically tells Regina, how dare you defy me? You are no daughter of mine, and then zaps her with lightning. Mm-hmm. And then in the next episode, he's like, Regina, you know I didn't mean it. You're my special girl. Come back to daddy. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
And then he basically he isolates her from her friends and turns her evil again. And she says, you know, I don't need any of you. The only person I need is daddy. And that sort of like enmeshed relationship and reliance on one person is a hallmark of abusive relationships.
Absolutely. And cults, actually. Not that, I'm not saying that this is like a cult. I'm just, for those of you out there who don't know, that's one of the tactics that is common.
Mm-hmm. Really quick PSA, actually, since we're talking about the subject of abuse and abusive parents. Abuse typically follows a cycle. So the person will be fine. There will be an explosion, and then they'll be really over the top nice to you. And then there's that period of them being fine again. And this kind of repeats. And it almost makes the victim doubt that the abuse is happening because they're normally so nice. Isn't this just a one-off? Well, I mean, I know it happened before, but they were so nice after. And so if that's happening to you, there are options for help. And if you don't know how to access them and you can safely reach out, please feel free to message me because I would be happy to help you look at what's available in your area.
Absolutely.
It's actually what I got a degree in psychology for. I just ended up doing something else.
Life takes us on mysterious turns that we don't quite anticipate. So yeah, I really like the themes. They're exploring a kind of darker subject, but they're doing so delicately and that kind of a thing. I will say, now I'm adopted, personally, and so sometimes when I watch movies or whatever where they're like, you know his dad did bad things, that means there's bad blood in him, right? Like, that doesn't really fit well with me. I don't like it. I don't appreciate it. Because to me, blood isn't super important. And, you know, there's some people who are like, oh, family is everything, you know, whether you get along or not, they're your family. And that is a true statement. But I always consider the extremes, you know, if there is abuse in a relationship, you know, whether it be spousal or parent-child or anything like that, that's more important than the family bonds. And so I hope that the show explores that some more as it can. You know, it's looking at it through the lens of a children's show, so they might not be explicit, but I hope that at some point, you know, they're arguing with Regina and Regina goes, Daddy's the only one that I want. And they could be like, if he doesn't like you or if he mistreats you, you can stand up for yourself. And that's kind of what made me so frustrated with the episode in Doki Doki, was because Mana's like, oh, your dad's just a grumpy guy. There's a difference between grumpy guy and guy who like wants to enslave the hearts of humanity.
Yeah, Mana is kind of, and the show, I think, is taking the approach of, if you tell your dad you love him, everything will be fine. But, you know, sometimes you love somebody and you want to be with them, but they are harming you and those feelings aren't reciprocated. And so you have to accept that you love them, but your love isn't going to make them treat you better.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a pretty heavy topic for a podcast about Doki Doki, I hope, or PreCure. I hope I haven't activated anybody unnecessarily, but I did want to shout it out because I think that it is important to have things like this in children's media because I think it gives children a frame of reference to understand if this is happening to you, it's not okay.
Yeah, absolutely. You came up with a very funny joke in the title of this podcast episode. So I assume that most people listening know what the trolley problem is, but can you explain it very briefly? Can you explain how Mana failed it exactly? Okay,
so very brief overview of the trolley problem. This is a problem presented to philosophy students. There are 2 tracks, and you are in charge of the lever. If you pull the lever toward you, the train goes to the right. If you push the lever away from you, trolley goes to the left. On one track is one person, and on the other track is 5 people. And there are different variations of this problem. Sometimes it's one person you know versus 5 people you don't. Sometimes it's like 5 very important business leaders and 1 child, right? But the important thing is 1 person versus 5 people. How do you decide who it is acceptable to kill? And kind of the point of this problem, as I understand it, is to teach philosophy students that it can be hard to make ethical decisions even when you apply philosophical frameworks.
And not only that, but I believe that many versions of the formulation is that the trolley's coming down is going to hit a single person who's tied to the tracks. You can divert it, but in doing so, it would hit these 5 people. And in that sense, your inaction causes the death of one person in one scenario, or your intentions hurt those other 5 people. And so it's a matter of, like, which is worse? Like, is it worse to do something that actively hurts someone, or is it worse to be inactive in the face of a threat or something like that?
Absolutely. Thank you. So you're our succinct summary guy. Summarize this Mana scene for us. So
Regina comes out. She's wearing a new purple outfit. Her eyes are red. She's all like, I don't need anyone. I'm going to destroy everything. What's the point of having friends anyways? And they try to reason with her. And eventually, I think it's Makoto, but someone says, hey, you can use your love force arrow and it will revert her. We learned a couple of episodes ago that we can do that. And they pull out the arrows and they aim, and I guess not pull out, they draw the bowstrings and they're about to take the shot, but Mana can't. She's like, I don't want to accidentally hurt Regina, which I don't like for reasons I'll come back to in a second. But because she refuses to fire the shot, Regina shoots an energy blast and could have killed all 4 of them, including their fairy. So I guess that would be 8 lives lost. And so, is it more important to try to save Regina, or is it more important to try to win the fight? And I agree that they shouldn't just, like, knife Regina. It's not like Rika has, like, a shank just, like, ready to go in her back pocket. But at the same time, we've never seen any evidence that the love force arrow hurts its victims. It just fills them with love. And it would be the perfect solution to this problem, Mana.
Right? Like, through inaction, you caused 8 other people to come to harm.
The trolley can continue down the ramp it's going down, and it will go into the trolley-shaped hole, and it will bring about free cupcakes for the entire population of Earth. Or you can pull the switch, and it will hit 8 people, including yourself. And she pulled that trigger so hard.
Thank you, Mana. There's another scene where sacrifice comes into play. This one isn't as trolley problem-esque because there's no real choice between, like, one person versus multiple people. But Mana and Regina are hanging from a thread from a spider disdain, and they're going to fall into lava. And Mana starts climbing up with Regina on her back. Regina can't fly because her powers are sealed. And Belle says, ha ha ha, fool, idiot, child, clown. That rope can only hold one person. And the rope starts to tear. And Mana's like, well, I choose both of us. And he's like, you can't choose both of you. One of you has to die. Ha 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 ha, fool. And Regina's like, guess I'll die. And she hurls herself backward to try to fall in the lava. And Mana catches her with her legs. And she says, none of that. We're both going to survive. To which my question was, how and why? But it's Mana. And I guess Mana inspired Regina. And Regina's love gave her powers back. So they flew out of the pit. So, Joel, if you are ever in a life or death situation and you can only save yourself or the other person, all you have to do is feel hard enough and both people will be fine.
Absolutely. Now, I do think that a slightly more realistic way for them to have solved this would be for Mana to say, we'll figure something out. And maybe her perseverance allows them to stall long enough for the other girls to show up and save them. I think that would be the more logical thing. But it also, on a symbolic level, works for me. It's selfishness versus selflessness. Mana and Regina finally figure out, like, what love is, and it gets through to Regina, and it's the power of selflessness that unseals her. But at the same time, yeah, don't literally follow Mana's advice in a real life or death situation because it might not turn out the way that you think. That's another thing that I didn't like. At one point, Joe's like, I gotta save the princess. This is very beginning of episode 21. And the girls point out, like, we don't know how to get to the Trump Kingdom. What are you gonna do? And he kind of is like, and then Shararu and Raquel and Lance are like, don't worry, something will happen. No, that's not true. Okay, if you are stranded on a mountain because, I don't know, there was an avalanche or something, you probably shouldn't just, like, sit there and wait for someone to rescue you. It's also dangerous to just, like, go wandering off without a plan, but, like, there's steps you can take to prepare. And so, like, I get that they had no way of knowing how to get the portal and time was a sensitive issue. But, like, don't worry, it'll work itself out. No, you are the PreCure. You are superheroes. You should be taking an active role, trying different things.
Yes, make the plot happen. Don't wait for the plot to happen to you.
Yes.
Really quick, we should probably talk about Cure Ace.
Absolutely.
Do you like her design?
Her design is excellent. I like that she is wearing lipstick, which to me symbolizes the fact that she is a more mature woman. So if the Mana and them are 14, I think, maybe she'll be like 16 or 17. I love red Cures almost every single time, and her design is amazing.
I honestly feel like we need more red Cures. Like, I feel like we get a lot of pink and a lot of orange or yellow, but not a lot of red. And like you said, red is one of my favorites. Did you know there's like an ongoing debate as to whether Cure Sunny from Smile PreCure is red or orange?
Sunny, the one who zaps herself with lightning? No, Sunny, the one who shoots the fireballs?
Yeah.
Huh. I would say, okay.
And to make matters worse, there's a scene where each of the little girls are like chibis, and they've got balloons in their color. She's got 2 balloons. She's got one red, one orange.
So she's both.
So Toei's just trolling people.
Absolutely.
Call him Trolley.
Who do you think is Cure Ace's alternate persona?
Look, I don't want to dissemble. I don't know for sure, but she looks an awful lot like the princess to me.
Okay.
So unless Toei is doing something really clever here, it's probably the princess. One idea that I had, because we had, in Hikari, in Futariwa Max Heart, had the queen's life and the queen's heart and the queen's whatever. Maybe I is the spirit of the princess, and this thing that is trapped in the ice is her body. So maybe I is Cure Ace, not like the whole princess together.
Interesting. Now, right before Cure Ace showed up, we did hear Kira Pipia or whatever it is that she says. And then we saw the royal crystals go inside of this some kind of beauty product that I'm unfamiliar with, but with an A on the front of it, and then she turns into Cure Ace, and then Cure Ace appears. So it could be that I and Ace are the same character. That'd be kind of an interesting way of like subtly hinting at it before we get the reveal. The only other possibility that I can think of is that while Joe was going to find some place to put the princess, and honestly, I keep imagining him burying her, but I don't think he actually used the word bury. She's in the crystal. She can't suffocate, you know?
Yeah.
But anyways, I just imagine Joe like going to the self-storage depot or something, and he just happens to run into a girl who happens to be a PreCure. Like, it doesn't make any sense. We haven't seen any character who's, like, seen them transform and been like, oh, I like the PreCure. So, like, it's gotta be someone who knows what's going on, so I think is the best option. It's not Joe, because A, people wouldn't be saying, when are we going to get a male cure if it was Joe? B, he already has his armor, and C, there's no reason for him to change gender when he transforms.
Can I shout out something about Joe really quick?
Yeah.
Mr. Joe Okada, our favorite dude. So, in the Glitter Force version, Mana says, you know how you wake up a sleeping princess? A kiss from a handsome prince. Get over here, Joe. And in Glitter Force, Joe says, well, I'm not a prince. And I'm not handsome. Like, bless your heart, man. You clean up nicely. In armor, you look pretty fine.
Absolutely. I mean, there's such a thing as humility, So maybe that's what it is. But maybe he had a really traumatic dating experience before he met the princess, where they're like, "You're ugly as heck," and he's like, "I thought I looked pretty good." Could be,
yeah. I really appreciated too Makoto's face during that scene. She was deeply offended at the thought of someone kissing the princess.
Yes. Rick is like, that's what it says in fairy tales. You can just see Makoto just being like, you said what? And then the actual scene of Joe leaning up and kissing the crystal to unthaw it, I guess. I'm unclear, because they keep saying like the word frozen, but in the Glitter Force version, one of the fairies definitely says like, it's more like armor, and that kind of a thing.
Sometimes frozen just means not moving.
I guess that's true. But anyways, maybe like encased would be a better word. So that way you don't give the imagery of like ice.
Entombed? Can I talk about skeletons again?
No, not right now. But when he's kissing the crystal to free the princess, all of the different girls have different reactions. So Mana is like peeking between her fingers. Regina's there, and she has this look like, what is this concept? Like, she clearly doesn't understand what this is. Sebastian has covered Alice's eyes. Rika is all, like, blushing and like, oh, this is so cute. And so, like, I really appreciate that. You learn a lot about the characters if you pause and just kind of, like, scan their different reactions to this moment.
Absolutely. No, it was just a great scene overall.
Okay. I have several quick fire scenes that I really liked. They're all pretty short and they're all cute. When the girls emerge from the portal into the Trump Kingdom, it's kind of like it's kind of open in such a way that they're sort of launched into the air, and it shows the girls, and Mana is like running, like she's trying to like stay afloat before they all fall. And then when they do fall, Rika gets her head stuck in the sand in the background while Mana and Makoto, I think, are talking about something, and she has to like pull herself free. That was super cute. They get attacked by, like, an army of disdains, because remember, all of Trump Kingdom have been transformed, and at one point, Rika rides a sheep. That was so cute, and I loved it.
I think Rika should have gotten to keep that sheep disdain.
Yes! You just see it, like, in her background in future episodes. No one ever, like, talks about it or anything like that.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, that is a person, so...
Yes. I will say, Mana throwing herself off, Regina throwing herself off of Mana, and then Mana catching her with her legs, like, that was super cool. That was, what a badass moment for Mana. And when Mana's like, I'm class president, I've done all sorts of things that the mercenaries have never faced. Like, that was pretty good. And then also, I really liked Regina with her hair down. It's a really quick note, but yep, when her bangs were hanging away from her head, I really like that.
Absolutely. Do you have any messages in a bottle for us? Heartfelt love letters, whatever we're calling them. Thoughts from the crew. We might as well just call them Thoughts from the Crew, because that's what the Discord channel is called, and that's what we call them half the time in the podcast.
That's what I label them as in Audacity. So, so AU had thoughts about the Delicious Party episode. It was very sweet to see the fairies bonding this way, that shows that while Kome Kome is like technically special, she's still on equal footing maturity-wise and the others, and I love her for that. The new power-up is fine and cute, and it's more interesting than the Heart Juicy mixer at the very least, and I love the new forms. I really like the new outfits.
Yeah.
And then Kier finale being so bridal really makes AU wonder about hints to the next season. So maybe they're going for a fake out, you know? Like, all of the evidence was pointing towards Regina being the secret cure for Doki Doki, and then they're like, surprise! And so maybe for this, they're really setting up expectations of next season being like a wedding theme, and then they're like, haha, meta, we knew that you were going to be looking for those clues.
Here's the thing, too, about, you know, people being like, oh, the second second closing hints at the next season, and there's hints hidden in the seasons. That's kind of a self-validating theory, because you could look at any closing and be like, oh, this element means this after the fact. It's a form of confirmation bias. And so it would be interesting if Toei came up with something just completely unrelated to any of the hints we think we've gotten, but I think people will still find a way to tie it back to the closing somehow, because there are only so many things that Toei considers feminine.
I guess so. I disagree with that. I think that if it becomes enough of a pattern, like, because I'm pretty sure I've seen people on Twitter being like, oh, the balloons in Tropical Rouge hinted at the color scheme for the next season. Yeah, right. But I think that if there is enough details that people can point to that are like, clearly, like, there's 4 balloons in the ending, and next season has 4 Kiers. They have the same colors, and then this ending has teacups, and then the next season, teacups are, like, one of the most common activities that they... Once you have enough instances of it, I think it becomes evident. And I'm also very curious if there's been any confirmation. If, like, because we discussed a couple of weeks ago that Hinata, the Ho-Oh from the second Max Heart movie, is a reference to, like, the world of spirits or whatever it's called in the next season. I wonder if the character designer for Hinata, or the main director of the movie, came out and was like, yeah, You know, we knew another Team B was working on the next season, and we knew that it was going to relate to nature and stuff, so we decided to kind of borrow some of those ideas.
Yeah, it would definitely be interesting to see, like, an actual discussion from the Toei folks. You know what I'm really excited about for next season?
Okay.
Apparently they're going to try to lean into the fact that PreCure has international appeal now.
Yeah, I've heard that going forward they want to do that. So I'm curious as to what that will mean. Like, will it mean more transfer students or more characters like Elena type of a thing? Or maybe they'll have unique holidays, you know, or not unique holidays, but maybe they will celebrate some of the non-Japanese holidays.
I would love to see a season where the cures come from all over the world.
Yes, Digimon Season 2, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a show that I've watched. Do you have any crack wait, we usually say the title of next week's episode, and then we do speculating.
Yes.
What's next week's episode called?
Episode 29 of Delicious Party PreCure, A Delicious Paradise. Let's go to Ku Kingdom. I didn't know they could go to Ku Kingdom. In fact, I think I distinctly remember Mary saying that because his stone was... because they got the stone from...
They got the stone!
Oh, that's so good! There's some character that I've been seeing a lot in the various Discords that I'm in and on Twitter or whatever, who I guess will be like the central character for the next episode. But honestly, what I'm hoping is that they drag Narcistoru there for some reason, and he interacts with some character.
I hope he has a terrible time, and Mari's just, like, cheerfully friends.
Oh my gosh, yes.
A prediction I have for this next episode is that Yui will take a bite out of, like, a bush or whatever. Like,
oh, yeah, like the house is made of candy or something.
Right, like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory when they go in and they're like, even this cup is a chocolate cup.
I really like the idea, man, I wish like I was a bit more talented at drawing, but imagine like Kakone and Amane having to like give the Heimlich to Yui and Ran because they thought everything would be made of candy or whatever, and they swallowed like a fork or something, and they're just like, no, you idiots, only certain things are food in the Ku Kingdom.
Oh, bless their hearts, those beautiful girls. Do you have a crack theory to send us out on this week?
Not particularly. My crack theory is that Kome Kome II will realize that she has the power to create more Kome Komes. And so she will, out of her tail will emerge two tiny little Kome Komes that will instantly grow to the same size as her, and together the three of them will hold off an attack, but it won't be enough, and then their tails will radiate, and then 6 more Kome Komes will come out, until eventually there's 1,000 Kome Komes that form into the giant Kome Kome.
The Kome Kome Complex!
The Die Kome Kome.
And that has been your...
Doot. Final thought. Outro goes here. Thanks for listening, everyone, and don't forget to not let your heart be controlled by evil. Sometimes love hurts, but it's better to have loved than never at all, I think, is how they say it.
Also, as Yui's grandma always says, eat your dad. Thank you all for joining us for another delicious plateful of...
Cure of the What Now?
Please take a moment to rate and review wherever you get your podcasts from.
Or if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to leave a comment, a like, or lick that subscribe bell so you know when the new episodes are going up.
Did you just say lick it?
Well, yeah, we're baking delicious foods. It's a delicious party.
Anyway, you can find me on Twitter at PirateGhostHost. Please don't lick me.
Can you even lick a ghost? I'm on Twitter at Kotwin_pod.
KOTWN_pod.
Absolutely. And as always, the Discord link is in the Twitter bio and also in the YouTube description.
Come join us for weekly discussions, streams, and all of the PreCure your heart can handle. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yum. Or no, I'm full!